Update on a case we've been following out of Illinois, the 911 calls that led to the fatal police shooting in the Sonya Massey's home.
As I understand, they immediately arrested him, as they should have, and put him in jail.
Hold on to your seats, folks. This shocking incident involving Sonya Massey has more twists and turns than a roller coaster ride. Rumors are swirling about a possible police setup, with Officer Sean Grayson at the center of it all. We've got allegations of misconduct, conspiracy theories, and even connections between Sonya and Sean's fiancée, Isabel Butterfield. From mental health struggles to suspicious 911 calls, this story is packed with juicy details. And did Sean really know Sonya before that fateful day? Was there a sinister plan in place? You won't believe the connections we're about to uncover. Stay tuned as we dive deep into this tangled web of secrets, lies, and potential cover-ups.
First, there was a call for justice in the death of a woman in her Springfield home by a deputy. Sonya Massey was shot after calling 911 for help.
This is your world. What do you think about it?
It is horrible.
Now, before we delve into the homicide conspiracy surrounding Sonya Massey's tragic passing, let's unravel the known details of the case. This tale, filled with disturbing twists and turns, begins with a seemingly routine call for help that escalated into a horrifying encounter.
Deputies were at Sonya Massey's home just hours before she was fatally shot, but Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell says it was unclear whether the deputies knew that.
On the night of July 6, 2024, Sonya Massey, a 36-year-old woman from Springfield, Illinois, dialed 911 to report a suspected prowler near her home. Responding to her call were two deputies from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, one of whom was Sean Grayson. From the bodycam footage and subsequent reports, it's clear that Massey was in a state of distress when the officers arrived. She greeted them with a plea, "Don't hurt me," showcasing her palpable fear. Massey's mental state was fragile. She was known to have struggled with mental health issues. This vulnerability was evident as she repeatedly invoked divine protection, saying, "Please God," and later asking for her Bible. The deputies found her behavior erratic but not threatening, initially sharing a laugh with her about a pot of boiling water on the stove. However, things took a dark turn when Massey, holding the pot, declared, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus."
Grayson claims it was this remark that frightened him.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Grayson, perceiving this as a deadly threat, drew his pistol. He later claimed in his report that he interpreted Massey's words as an intention to harm him. The scene grew more chaotic as Massey ducked behind a counter, then rose again, possibly with the pot still in hand. Grayson fired 3 shots, one of which struck Massey below the eye, fatally wounding her. The aftermath of this shooting was immediate and intense. The video footage, released later, confirmed that Grayson had ample cover and distance from Massey, raising questions about the necessity of using deadly force. Grayson, rather than attempting to de-escalate the situation or use non-lethal methods, opted for the most extreme measure. His actions have since sparked outrage and nationwide protests, underscoring the persistent issue of police violence against Black individuals.
The deputy is still under internal investigation by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department for what happened at Sonya Massey's home. This is not a criminal investigation.
Sonya Massey's family, represented by civil rights attorney Ben Crump, has been vocal about the injustices faced by Sonya. They argue that Grayson's violent reaction was not only unjustified but a direct consequence of his inadequate training and problematic history. Grayson had a checkered past, including multiple DUI convictions and a series of short stints at various law enforcement agencies. His rapid job changes and the previous discipline issues should have raised red flags long before he was allowed to carry a badge and a gun.
You know, he did nothing wrong here, so egregious that he should not be a police officer anymore. But we need to work with him. We need to make sure that mentally, that it's safe for him to work.
Further complicating the narrative are the suspicions surrounding Sheriff Jack Campbell, who hired Grayson despite his troubled record. The family has called for Campbell's resignation, accusing him of gross negligence in Grayson's hiring and subsequent lack of oversight. The incident has also drawn attention from high places. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have both commented on the case, with Biden highlighting the broader systemic issues that lead to such tragedies. When we call for help, all of us as Americans, regardless of who we are or where we live, should be able to do so without fearing for our lives, Biden stated, emphasizing the need for systemic reform. As for the legal repercussions, Grayson has been charged with first-degree homicide, aggravated battery, and official misconduct. If convicted, he faces a potentially lifelong sentence. His defense hinges on the claim that he feared for his life, a narrative that many, including civil rights advocates, find disingenuous given the circumstances.
It's unfortunate. We needed the information, and it's a informal process, and it was not provided.
But wait, things get even more mysterious when we dive into the latest revelations about Sheriff Jack Campbell and his peculiar hiring practices. Why would he greenlight a deputy with such a checkered past? Could there be more to this than mere negligence? Let's explore the deeper, darker implications. First off, it's crucial to acknowledge that Sean Grayson wasn't just a troubled cop. His history paints the picture of a man repeatedly given second chances, thanks to his connections rather than his qualifications. The fact that he worked at 6 different law enforcement agencies in just 4 years should have been a major red flag. And those DUI convictions? They're not just minor slip-ups, they indicate a pattern of reckless behavior. So why did Campbell ignore these glaring issues?
According to the department, he did not activate his body camera until after shooting her, making it more challenging to verify what happened.
One theory circulating among the locals is that Campbell had a personal stake in keeping Grayson on the force. The whispers about a potential setup become louder when considering Grayson's connections. Isabel Butterfield, his fiancée, isn't just a random nurse, she's intricately tied to the local law enforcement community. Her father, Scott Butterfield, was a well-respected deputy, and his recommendation carried significant weight. Could it be that Campbell was doing a favor for an old friend, ensuring that Grayson, despite his flaws, remained employed? And then there's the question of whether Grayson knew Sonya Massey before that fateful night. Malachi Hill Massey's assertion that the officers had been to their home earlier that day is deeply unsettling. If true, it suggests a premeditated encounter rather than a spontaneous response to a 911 call. Why would Grayson show up twice in one day? And why was his reaction so extreme and aggressive during the second visit? The more one digs, the more it seems like there could have been ulterior motives at play. Another layer to this puzzle is Grayson's medical condition. Diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, Grayson was under immense personal stress. His attorney highlighted this during the arraignment, perhaps as a way to garner sympathy. But what if this diagnosis affected his judgment on duty? Desperation, fear for his own life, and the psychological toll of his illness could have influenced his actions, making him even more dangerous and unpredictable.
He says, drop the water. Well, it is rational to me that if she drops that pot of hot water at her feet, it's all over her.
Additionally, the nature of Grayson's relationship with Isabel Butterfield adds another twist. Isabel, working in the mental health sector, could have had interactions with Sonya Massey, especially given Massey's recent stay at a mental health facility. Did these interactions sour, leading to personal vendettas? Could Isabel have shared these conflicts with Grayson, indirectly fueling his actions? The potential for a personal vendetta cannot be ignored here. And speaking of personal connections, there's the troubling narrative that Grayson may have known about Sonya's mental health struggles beforehand. If he did, why didn't he approach the situation with more care? Why wasn't there an attempt to de-escalate using non-lethal methods, especially when it was clear Sonya was in distress?
It is horrible. It is horrible. And I am thinking to myself, if you thought she posed a danger, why did you let her go over there?
The body cam footage shows Grayson threatening to shoot Sonya in the face, a statement that seems incredibly excessive and unprofessional. This raises the possibility that Grayson went in with a mindset shaped by more than just the immediate situation. The notion of a setup also gains traction when considering the actions of the other deputy on the scene. His body cam footage, thankfully left running, paints a stark contrast to Grayson's narrative. The calmness in his demeanor versus Grayson's aggressive stance suggests that Grayson's decision to use deadly force was his alone. Could the other deputy have been left in the dark about any sinister plans? Or was he an unwilling participant caught in a web of deception and misconduct?
I saw no overt action of her being a threat to him at all. Zero. It is horrible.
Let's not forget about the response or lack thereof immediately following the shooting. Grayson's dismissive attitude towards providing immediate medical assistance to Sonya is chilling. His words, "Nah, she's done," indicate a lack of remorse and an almost disturbing calmness in the face of a fatal shooting. This isn't just unprofessional, it's inhumane. The delay in offering aid and his subsequent remarks further fuel suspicions of premeditation. Moreover, the political and public backlash has been intense, with prominent figures like President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris weighing in. Their statements highlight systemic issues, but what if this case is a symptom of something even more insidious? The combination of Grayson's questionable past, the connections with local law enforcement through his fiancée, and the troubling circumstances of the shooting all suggest a deeper conspiracy.
At today's protest, an appearance by Selwyn Jones. He's the uncle of George Floyd.
These heinous things keep happening by overzealous police officers that shouldn't be on the force.
Now, the burning question remains, was this a setup? And if so, who was pulling the strings? Was it Grayson acting out of personal vendetta, influenced by his fiancée's potential grievances? Or was it a broader conspiracy within the sheriff's office, perhaps orchestrated by higher-ups like Sheriff Campbell to protect certain interests or individuals? As the investigation continues, one thing is clear: this case is far from straightforward. The tangled web of personal connections, professional misconduct, and potential corruption paints a picture of a deeply flawed system. Sonya Massey's demise might be a tragic result of these systemic failures, but it could also be a deliberate act masked by a facade of incompetence.
And we deserve to live.
In the end, the truth must come out. For Sonya Massey's family, for the community, and for justice to be served, every stone must be turned. And while the public watches, speculates, and demands answers, the spotlight remains on those in power, pressing them to reveal the whole truth, no matter how dark or complicated it may be. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. So, what do you think? Was Sonya Massey's tragic demise part of a sinister plot, or is it a stark example of systemic failure and corruption? Could the connections between Grayson, his fiancée, and Sheriff Campbell suggest something more deliberate? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious.